the world's most advanced cold wallet for the new generation of cryptocurrency lovers.
So if you are interested in buying this decent wallet, you can find a link in the description down below where you will get a 20% discount. Thank you very much, and let's dig in the video. What's up, XRP family? Thank you guys for joining the video for today. So we have a very interesting video here. Yes, it's 6 minutes, guys. I will play this video and then I will stop in between and make some comments on it. But it's very, very interesting, guys. This is Digital Asset Investor. He's actually saying, in all my life, I've only heard one company ever claim their goal is to replace Swift. Only one, all the money. So this is true. There is no other cryptocurrency company or any other company that is making these claims to actually replace Swift. And you cannot just go and say that if you're just a company who has that ambition. No, because you really have to do it, because otherwise you're making an enemy of all the world. So it's a very, you can see that most of the banks already know what Ripple is trying to do and that it will succeed. So let's take a look at this video, guys, and you will find it very interesting.
That internet of value to be developed, and that's what we spend our time working on, is a replacement for Swift and correspondent banking. How do you get all of the payment providers, all of the wallets onto ILP, and then how do you use XRP as on-demand liquidity so that all of these providers don't have to keep balances all over the world because the process is so inefficient. We think that's the winning kind of killer app. And then I think you last group talked about a Cambrian explosion. Yeah. Then you get that Cambrian explosion.
Well, I think what we're doing and executing on a day-by-day basis is, in fact, taking over Swift. In that, we've now signed up, well over 100 banks. Some of the largest Swift-enabled banks in the world are now.
So you can hear, guys, we have signed over 100 banks and one of the largest Swift-enabled banks. So banks that already use Swift, but they work with Ripple to actually replace the inefficient system. So this is already proof that this is not just talk. This is real, guys. This is happening right now.
Now using Ripple's technology. Just last week we saw a remittance company who's using Ripple's technology. They reduced the price per transaction to their consumers from $20 per transaction to $2 per transaction, and they saw an 800% increase in usage overnight. That's the type of dynamic that Swift isn't able to support that we're able to address right now. And that's something we saw just in the last couple of weeks. So we certainly want to see banks succeed in this new world order and take advantage of these technologies. To the extent we can work with Swift to do that, then that's great. The payments...
You heard how he said new world order, guys. With this, he means the new financial system, which you can see a lot of elite people talk about, right, these days. So, and the status of the world now with the war and everything going on with Russia and Swift, this is happening now. This is what they're really doing. The lawsuit, all these things are just smokescreen. But what they're really doing, guys, they're changing the whole financial system from beneath. That's what you can see from this. All these videos are very long time ago. Some of them are a very long time ago, but that's not relevant because it takes time to replace such a financial system.
You have north of $20 trillion going cross-border each year. It is fraught with error rates, and it's slow, it's expensive. For me, it's a classic Silicon Valley going up against the big behemoth Goliath, but it's so broken. When I go talk to banks, it's a beautiful thing for me because banks don't like Swift. They're frustrated with Swift. Their customers don't like Swift, and that's a great place to be when you're selling into that. So,
and Swift, it seems, has responded to what Ripple is doing. How does their new technology, the response that they've created, compare to what Ripple's doing?
So they changed they sort of pressed on their customers to credit payments more quickly, and they added an acknowledgement at the end of the payment. So it used to be fire and forget. Now they send a message back from the end when the payment's acknowledged, and that does address some of the pain points that people had. But I think, one thing, there are a couple things it doesn't address. So one of them is it doesn't enable settlement at the time of payment. So if you think that that's an important thing, it kind of attacks our sort of submarine strategy of we'll give you a better payment system and it can settle at the time of payment. But even if you don't care about that, it's still a better payment system. So I mean, obviously the bidirectional messaging and everything, it's still a better payment system. But like, if you can take away the major pain points, maybe that sort of attacks our strategy of saying we're going to take away your major pain points. So we're like, well, we can take away some of those pain points too. But it doesn't fix the fundamental problem. It's kind of like, you know, like if a music company tried to combat the iPod by like dropping the price of CDs or making them hold more data or something. Like, the fundamental problem is the settlement.
What does that mean? I was talking to the CEO of one of the largest banks.
So again, with fundamental problem, he means the settlement. He means the money going from one place to another place. This is what he actually means. Because you can send money and it will arrive tomorrow, but the costs are high and the actual money is not there. They have to keep it in between. This is called nostro vosso. That's what he was talking about. That's why settlement is a very different thing than just messaging a payment.
In Canada, and they were exiting their correspondent relationship in Brazil. It's expensive for them to hold Brazilian reals, and they're like, look, we don't have enough demand, so now we're going to use a correspondent bank. Now, if they could use XRapid into Brazil, they don't have to have the pre-funded money, they don't have the expense, and they can still solve their customers' problem that need to do business in Brazil. So I think these are all examples of, it is a journey. I think that, you know, it is nascent. I will also say that I'm going to send a case of champagne to David Marcus, the guy who runs the Libra. The reason is this week will probably be the best week of signed contracts at Ripple ever.
Right. Wow.
It has been a massive call to action because, you know, again, Facebook kind of came out and said, we don't need Western Union anymore.
Right.
Well, if you're a bank, if you're Western Union, you kind of, that's interesting. And I think the banks realize that if Facebook is going to be a competitor in this space, they can't depend upon a technology like SWIFT to compete in the marketplace. Correspondent banking, it was built decades ago. It hasn't really evolved. It's, you know, based upon, you know, SWIFT messaging between correspondent banks. The cost of supporting that infrastructure, frankly, has gone up. One of the things that changed after the financial crisis of 2009, 2010, it used to be if the Bank of Dan and the Bank of Brad wanted to do cross-border transactions, we'd have what's called nostro vostro accounts. It used to be that when I put cash at the Bank of Dan, that counted positively towards my capital ratio. After that financial crisis, we decided that trusting other deposits at other banks may not be as trustworthy as we thought. And so now it doesn't count. And so banks have contracted. The correspondent banking relationships have gone down by 50% in the last 15 years. Yet global cross-border transactions continue to grow. So our view is, look, these are technologies from decades ago. We can upgrade them with today's technology, with internet-based technologies, and make this real-time transactions.
You do a SWIFT transaction, there's banks saying, there's a market maker saying, I'll lock in that rate. I'll take the volatility risk for the next 2 or 3 days. With XRP, you don't have to do that because it settles so quickly.
Value exchange, and that's really the mission.
Now I will stop it here, guys, but you understand the point. These are all videos from how they talk about replacing SWIFT. Everything is coming together, and that is why Digital Asset Investor actually put this video here. It's a very beautiful one. Let's move on, guys. Let's see what is going on. Crypto firms may still face SEC penalties for self-reporting securities laws violations report. Very interesting, guys. The SEC enforcement director joined the agency from the New Jersey General's office. In November, he pushed back again against criticism that the SEC would employ regulation by enforcement with respect to crypto and other securities. So this means that Ethereum is still not safe, actually, because they had a free pass, but it doesn't mean that they got away. Russian central bank chief says alternatives to SWIFT already in place. Central bank governor Elvira Nabil, I can't say that, but let's continue, said its system was ready to take the place of SWIFT. Now, this is the Russian financial messaging system, but what could that be, guys? Do you think they just found a way to cross-border payment? It's very interesting what is happening nowadays. Russia's central bank governor has said its global payments will continue to function despite the SWIFT ban. So this can be a cryptocurrency that they're using. This can be something else. What is exactly that they're using, guys? I am not sure, but it can be Ripple. It remains to be seen if Russia is able to implement a worthy replacement for SWIFT, given only 23 foreign banks are connected to the SPFS compared to 11,000 banking members in SWIFT. It will be challenging for Russia to enable payments infrastructure that can meet all of its transactional demands. So again, very interesting, guys, because you can see how important Ripple now is starting to become. The United States is the only country on the planet that has suggested XRP is a security.
It gives you ownership of a company, right? If Ripple goes away, XRP is going to keep trading. Many countries around the world, the UK, Japan, Switzerland, Singapore, they all have clarity and certainty that XRP is not a security. In fact, the United States is the only country on the planet that has suggested that XRP is a security.
Again, guys, the lawsuit, smokescreen, just to stall time and wait for the good moment. Bad news for ETH founders, the new enforcement director's comments will disappoint some in the industry who had hoped the SEC would give them a one-time free pass. Our message to them is not register your product and we'll just ignore the billions you've made. Very interesting. Russia's Sberbank in Europe faces closure after savers demand money. ECB says Sberbank Europe failing or likely to fail. Big European banks fall sharply in early trading. Deutsche Börse drops trading of Sberbank and others. So you can see, guys, it's all happening around us. Inflation is hitting the Russian ruble hard, with the dollar-pegged stablecoin Tether witnessing a spike of 30% against it in the 5 days since the commencement of the war with Ukraine. Now, of course, Russia, guys, knows what they are doing. They're not stupid. So I think we will see some kind of reaction from Russia. Let's wait and see, guys, but these are very interesting times. Thank you very much for watching this video. See you in the next one. Cheers.